of this. So
Thank you.
right now you're creating an AI Foundry resource, right?
Yes, an Azure AI Foundry resource.
It's not available yet on the Qatar region.
Yeah, Azure AI Foundry, you don't have. So you deploy the ones that are approved by, do you work in a government sector?
No.
Okay, if you're working for those of you who are working in the government sector, you could deploy in regions such as West Europe or Sweden Central. These are like approved by the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. That's where a lot of entities use AI resources.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna deploy to a resource group that's already existing because for some reason it wouldn't let me make a new one. So you can click on next. Now there are a lot of questions it's gonna ask you, which are very important. And you might want to consult with your IT team if you're trying to deploy this. But I'm just gonna go through them. It's not clicking for some reason. Okay, I'll try.
A Foundry resource deployed, maybe we can discuss.
Yeah, I think that's better to save time. Yes, okay. Okay, so this is my already deployed Foundry resource. And you want to go to the Foundry portal. So this is the model catalog. You can see all the different models. You can set filters if you're looking for specific ones. Maybe you only want fine-tuning models or you only want reasoning models. And you can, I'm not really going to go into this, so you can explore yourself, but you can benchmark models. You can see how expensive they are. You can see the quality. So you can use this to select the best model for you. You can use the playground to quickly do some testing. For instance, like one fun thing I did was I made a model to tell jokes in Arabic. You can ask it a question in any language you want, but it tells you jokes in Arabic. So you can just like use the playground to quickly test your idea and validate things before you deploy. So down here, these are the models that you have already deployed. And if you want to use them in a KNIME workflow, you need to be here because you need to get the URL of this resource, and you also need to get your key. That's how you use it in KNIME. Are there any questions? Do you have a question?
Do you use intra-authentication in KNIME? Like instead of using keys?
I have not tried. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah. Is that like, does it refresh or does it like stay stable?
So for example, you can use like a intra account or like a service principal, and then you just like some other of using keys.
I don't know. I haven't tried. Maybe. Not sure. Yes.
You talked about pricing. So Azure, no, that's pay as you go. You are paying the tokens. And if you are integrated, you integrate the solution as a call. It's an API call in KNIME. Is it like the same business model, subscription, the price?
For KNIME or for Azure? For KNIME? It depends. So there's several ways you can use KNIME. You can use the KNIME desktop, which is what I have, and that's completely free. It's free to use. So in this use case, you're only going to pay for your tokens on the Azure side, which is very, very cheap. You can also use KNIME Server, which is good for enterprises, but it's expensive. But if you're a smaller company, you can use the KNIME Hub. I think it's like $99 per month, but then you pay for like execution costs.
So you need to pay something like add-on about this or no?
If you're using the local option like me, you don't have to pay anything. You only pay for your tokens. Yeah, clear? Trust me, like it's a pretty powerful software, but like you just download it and then halas, you don't really pay. You don't pay for anything additional. Yeah. Huh? I'll tell you why. The history. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's
for example,
yeah.
Sorry if I interrupted, but actually for Power BI, for example, yeah, we can do it as desktop is free.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
But when I would like to share,
Yes.
so here it's I have to pay in order to collaborate.
Yeah.
So with KNIME, I will download, I use it free. Where is the trick when I can pay?
Like if you want to automate a workflow, so like let's say you want to be sleeping and you have your data pipelines running automatically, then you have to pay. I mean, there's a way you can hack it to do it locally, but it's too much work. It's better to just go with like the KNIME Hub. It's like $100 and then pay for your execution. So if you want to automate things, then you have to pay. But if you're doing a use case like this, then you don't have to pay. You only pay for your tokens.
It's purpose of connecting the AI models with KNIME. So what's the purpose?
Great question. You're going to see in a second. Let me just start the demo. Then I think it's going to make sense. So this is the data set we were discussing. It's a bit messy. And we're looking at the real estate column. So if I want to see how many variants of real estate types are there, like let's say I want to like, make a bar chart that tells me the value for each real estate type. I want to have things consistent, right? So if I want to explore that, sorry, I don't have too much time to give you a deep overview, but basically in KNIME, you have nodes, like I said. This is called the canvas. So you have a node which you configure. Like this node, its job is to read a file for me. So now my next step is I want to see how many variations there are of the real estate type. I'm going to do a group by, and I'm going to select that column. And there's 43 variations. Now, just looking at this data, what do you guys notice about the first two rows? Exactly, duplicates. But there is a difference because the first one, building, is a lowercase b, and the other one, it's a capital B. But now I'm going to have two bars on my chart, which is not good. And if you're reading down, you can see like these ones, there's two variations. There is three variations for this. So if I'm trying to make a Power BI dashboard, the data is not, super ideal. I can sit down and like fix all of this myself, but I can just use an LLM for it. Now, a worst case is these zones. Down is more confusing. Like I said, there's like 300 variations when we have 98 zones. That would take too much time. But we're going to use this one for the LLM. Okay, so now let's try to bring in Azure. So basically the idea is we want to pass these different variations to the LLM, have it figure out the correct categories, and then join that back to the data. Now, the beauty of this is, let's say in a couple of weeks, the data is updated. I don't need to really do anything. I just run it through again, and any new variations is going to be handled, and I don't have to, do data cleaning steps manually. So on the Azure side, I'm going to search for the Azure OpenAI, yeah, there you go. Okay, so the Azure OpenAI Authenticator, it's called Azure OpenAI Authenticator, but it doesn't only work with the OpenAI models, it works with the other ones like a DeepSeek, so you can use it for that. And then to be able to authenticate, you need to have the credentials. Now, if you're using like a server or like a KNIME Hub option, which is cloud-based, you can actually store your credentials in like a key vault. They have a secure place to store it, if that's like a concern. But here, I'm just going to put it in the node. So this is the key to access that resource. I'm going to put it as the password. So you can see like what I'm doing is I'm just like configuring the nodes. I don't have to do any code. You can also, of course, use Python for this, but not everybody programs. Okay. And then there are two things you need from Azure. You also need the endpoints of your resource, and you need the API version. You can find these information. Can I speak without the mic? I need to put my hands in. Yeah, okay, I'll try to speak loudly. So you need both informations, and you can get them from Azure. So the endpoints, you want to copy everything up until .com. I'm using GPT-4o, but of course you can also deploy another model if that's your preference. And the API version is very important because if it's not right, sometimes it gets rejected. You can find that in the URL as well. Okay, so it should be connected now. So the next step is to select the model you want to use. The deployment name has to be exactly matching what you have in Azure. And I'm going to increase the maximum limit, and I'm going to reduce the temperature to 0.1, like I was discussing. In cases like this, where you want consistency, you don't want like creativity, you want to make sure your temperature is low. But if we're maybe writing some fun articles, you might want a higher temperature. Okay, so down here, I already have written my instructions. So I'm basically informing the LLM of its persona. So it's a holistic data quality agent, and it's going to be given a list of real estate type data, and it needs to ensure consistency with the data. So I'm telling it has to be very structured in its output for me. So it has to use a certain delimiter for the old and new, which is a column, and then it has to use a semicolon for the next record. The reason I do this is, like I was explaining to this gentleman, is a lot of times in this data cleaning pipeline, I'm not just doing it once. I'm doing like a loop, and I have like 20 iterations. So I need things consistent, because if they're not, then like things don't balance out. That's why it's very important to like give clear output instructions for the LLM. Are there any questions so far? Okay, cool. Okay, so now I need to prepare my data to go to the LLM. So I have my list here. Now I want to make it like a, I guess, text blob, because I'm just going to pass it in one go. I'm going to concatenate this. And basically, again, I'm configuring various steps, which I just configure once. And if I run it again with refresh data, it carries it out. And from this point, I can prompt the LLM. I'm just going to copy my instructions. So here you can add a system message. So I'm going to add one with those instructions that I copied. So in the column, I'm passing it all of those different variations of the real estate types. And its job is to make something consistent, and then give me the old name and the new name. And hopefully that should help me solve the problem I'm having. Any questions?
So the input is the column real estate type?
Yes, which has been concatenated.
So it's in a text format, it's like a string?
Text chunk, yes.
Okay, and then how are you defining the output?
So the output, it needs to tell me the old name and the new consistent name.
And how does it?
Yeah. For each record, it needs to separate it with a semicolon.
Okay, and how does it? So I'm seeing the text format is also a text. So then after that, you parse that or something?
Exactly, yes. And I'll show that as well.
And have you seen instances where it doesn't respect the prompt?
Actually, no. For use cases like this, not really. In the only instances where it doesn't respect the output, then I use JSON.
Yeah.
And if you like give it like maybe two
Structured
instructions with
output.
JSON, yeah, it's pretty much gets it. Unlike DeepSeek, I have this issue with DeepSeek. I use a reasoning model. My challenge is it always gives me its reasoning steps, which I usually don't want. So something like this respects the output. Yeah. So we're gonna.
Right.
Yes.
In the output format, you're giving it to the LLM to decide the output.
I'm giving it instructions.
Yeah.
Yes. It needs to decide what is correct and consistent, and then I'm giving instructions for how to give it the output.
Right. So in the input data, there are cases where there is a mismatch in, for example, uppercase and lowercase. So based on what the LLM will decide that which is correct and which is not. And if
based on like its reasoning, because it's pretty good at its reasoning. Like it's I don't want to say brain, because technically, but based on like, I guess it's, yeah. So the LLM itself decides what should be consistent. It's going to study the data and like figure out that, okay, these two are the same, but it's just a consistency issue in the case.
And we can always define that in the system prompt, right? Like
You
if
can.
it's in this case, then prefer the one that is longer or prefer the one that is
Yeah.
has this specific detail, right?
I wouldn't really go into such details for it, but you might give it something more general, like capitalize the first word of each letter, for instance. Sorry, the first letter of each word. You can give it instructions like that. But on tasks like this, I'm finding it's actually pretty good.
For example, like if I have 100 values and there is a, like, will it decide based on the weighted average of what the higher case is, or will it just create the output based on the intelligence?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, honestly. Maybe it might take the most consistent one, but I think it's something you have to try. But I just want to comment on cases where you actually have a lot of things like this. It might be better to break it up, because I find that if you give it so many different records, it's not as good. So in such a case, you might want to do a loop of 5. So send 20 each time and break it up.
Because you're setting the temperature very low,
Yes.
it will reduce the anomaly in the output.
Yes.
So ideally it should give the output which is the most recurring element and standardize everything based on that.
Yeah, in theory it should. Yes.
With the output, that you provide everything in Azure.
I mean, no, but technically I think you should be able to do the same thing with a GET request if you cut it up. Yeah, so you can use that. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, there's the guest. Yeah, there's a get node. There is the what's the other one? Get, and is it not push pull? Post, thank you. Yeah, so those are both there. You can use those. Yes. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so we're gonna parse this out now to see how it's performed. So we use a node called cell splitter because now we have to parse the result. Okay, so it was very helpful that I did ask it to give me a very structured output, because now I can separate things the way I like. So first I'm going to separate it at the record level. So a semicolon is what separates each record. So I'm going to the semicolon, and I'm going to output as a list because I need to get these into rows. And then the next step from here. So with KNIME, it actually has its own AI that tries to figure out the most probable node for you once you do something. So it's figuring out that if I use a cell splitter, I'm likely to use an on-group node. So I can just drag it to the empty space and it recommends that for me. And I can run that. So now I have the responses. So you can see in those first two cases, the first case, it was lowercase b. The second case, it was uppercase b. In both cases, the new ones it's given us, they are now consistent. They're both uppercase b's. Okay. And then if we scroll down, can't see the full thing. Let me just continue parsing so that you can see everything. Okay, so we're gonna do another step to separate the old from the new. So I'll just drop the original column. Okay, so now this should be the clean variations. So this one, it doesn't even look different, but maybe there was a space somewhere. This one, you can see there was no space here, but it's put a space. So now they're all consistent. Just as a sanity check, I can do a group by of what the LLM returned, which is array 1. These are the new ones. So now if I do a group by to see how many variants we have, Okay, so now it's given us 30, and before we had 43. So you can like still like, refine the prompts further if you wanted to reduce things down. And you can even use like human in the loop to change some things yourself, but it does cut down time for you. And then at the data level, you can rejoin. I don't think we have time, otherwise I'll show you. Do we have time still? Or?
We're actually out of time.
Okay.
So how long is it gonna take?
Uh,
But what were you gonna do? So I think essentially what you've done is you've taken some sample data from an Excel file and you've connected to a model in Foundry,
yes.
defined your prompt, and then you're doing some transformation steps. And at the end, what do you get? You get a cleaned.
Exactly, cleaned list. And then the last step would be to join this cleaned list to like reference the messy names and then join back the clean names into your original data. So you're not going to send all like, over 21,000 rows to LLM. You just send the unique ones. And then once it's clean, then you join everything back. And then you have like a cleaned column.
So does KNIME connect with Power BI semantic models?
You can publish Power BI semantic models, but yeah, you can.
Is there a node?
Yeah, there is,
Okay.
but I don't like it because it creates some challenges because once you do it, you can't really edit anything,
Oh,
which for me is not. I mean, you can like set some things like the relationships in KNIME, but I always find that I would need to do something in Power BI, but then it's blocked. But you can do it. So if you search for the Power BI, so you have the Power BI, set to Power BI. You can also refresh a Power BI semantic model. You can also read a model from KNIME.
Could you push to like a database as well?
You can write to a database. You can read from a database, write to a database.
To a storage account or something? Okay.
Yes.
It's kind of the same question because once you finish, like first of all, you need like to have the skills as a data quality analyst
Yes.
to do the whole steps. But once you deploy or you publish, you can publish it as a data set, clean data set, and you can store it.
And publish it wherever you want to. There's like a lot of options. For me, like something like this, you can publish directly to a semantic model. If it's a simple use case, but just this one, that's fine. But like a lot of times I have many tables and sometimes I like to edit things. So that might not be the best one, but you can publish it somewhere else and you can use it there. You can make your dashboards in KNIME if you want to, but I prefer Power BI for the visualizations. You can do pretty much a lot of things here.
I didn't hear you the answer about why you don't wanna publish it as a semantic model.
You can. So you
How
can.
do you find
Yeah.
Edit it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. If it's like
relationships between tables?
you can set the relationships in KNIME. You can do that. But once you finish everything and you publish to Power BI, you can't really edit them on Power BI service, which sometimes I need to do, especially if I have a very complicated model, like let's say I have 20 different objects or tables, then I might need to, do something. But if like, let's say it was a simpler model, then you don't need to change anything, then you can just send it there. And the data types you set in KNIME, they also do carry over to Power BI. So like you don't have an issue with that. It doesn't let you do it. It doesn't let you change anything. Yeah. I think it's from the Power BI side. And I think there's a very good reason for that, because I think the idea is it's supposed to be unchangeable for a reason, data governance reasons, the way it's being published. So I think it's to prevent people from doing exactly this. So the idea is it's meant to be final when you push it, which can be a good thing, but in some cases it can be a challenge, especially if you're just trying to develop something, it can be a challenge. Yes.
I have a question, maybe you will not like it.
It's okay, you can ask.
So,
Okay. One question. If it's gonna be long, should we take our time?
no, it's a simple. It's why I will choose KNIME. Okay, if it's a low code, I will say orchestrator, and I don't choose Power Apps, for example.
They're very different solutions.
Yeah, it's just a different way of doing things. So
Not a Power Apps, sorry, Power Automate.
Feel different because it's different because KNIME is more it's more stronger on data science. You can do everything data science here. So this data is not the best for it, but let's say I wanted to do like customer segmentations, I can do it in KNIME. I can do like logistic regression. I can do time series forecasting. So there's a lot of things you could do. But for me, like for the data prep, I like it because everything is documented, You do it once and you don't have to do it again. I can give it to you. And if you know KNIME, you can figure out what I'm doing. Of course, it's good to like leave comments, but it's helpful for things like that. And of course, you know, it is free. Now, if you are very good at Python and you prefer to code, you can do a lot of things in Python. But if you don't want to, you can use KNIME. You can also use Python in KNIME, by the way. You can use R in KNIME, JavaScript in KNIME. So it's an open tool for you to like do a lot of things.
Invincible.
Really?
Ah.
Okay, they need to pay me. Like, yalla, I'll tell them this.
No, because the idea is not to write the scripts, but in my world, I can use the LLM to write the scripts.
Exactly, you can.
And it's just also just to touch upon your question. So throughout this community sessions, you'll see a lot of like different tools and different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
That you can still, leverage Azure or other components in it. So last time you saw Power Automate, how it helps, especially enterprises, and Power Automate is like way more than just data science. A lot of like other workflow automations and so on. With KNIME, it's more focused on data science, and you have like the free version running locally. But then the moment this needs to run on a server, right? So where is that going to run? Either you go with the KNIME Hub, or you can host it from the Azure Marketplace or in other ways, and this is what you can use it. And you mentioned that you have Fabrics. For example, in Fabric, we also have the concept of data flows, which does something similar as well. It's just a matter of you knowing like what's the best tool for use. Each tool has their pros and cons. How integrated you want to be is with your upstream and downstream tasks. So it's just a different way of doing this, and this is the beauty of the tech community, that there's a lot of options for you. You can work with what you have depending on your use case and your requirements, your budget, your regulations, all that.
Yeah. And also, like, to add to Fatma's point, like if I had Fabric at an enterprise level, I don't think I would use KNIME, because like a lot of things you can do in KNIME, you can do in Fabric. But one of the appeals for KNIME is like it's free. Not all organizations have.
That's what you get under low code.
Exactly, but I think I'm an advocate of keeping things in one place. I know Fabric has everything. It has the data governance component, it has data prep, it has data science, it has LLMs. So yeah, it's always a choice with that.
Yeah. Let's just ask them 3 questions, and then we can take it outside over pizza.
3 questions. Okay, you ask them. Okay.
Yeah.
Like a quiz or
Quiz.
Okay.
Based on the topic that you covered.
All right. Cool.
Maybe some questions about data governance.
Yeah,
I mentioned earlier.
What is the people component when it comes to creating and deploying a data governance policy?
Raise your hand, please.
Use the microphone.
Is the microphone? Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. So in regards to people, what is the people component when it comes to creating and deploying a data governance policy? What are the responses? I'm giving the answer. Huh?
Model, I think.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly this. So the roles, the ROCI model.
Do you want to explain that for folks that maybe didn't hear?
Yeah, I just saw it on the screen. It's something to do with the roles and responsibility, like every certain people should be accountable to do something.
What's your name?
Amar.
Next question.
Okay. Why is it important to have a single source of truth in an organization?